I'm Lauren Green, and you're in the strategy room. GOP presidential buzz will be centered around Kentucky Senator Rand Paul this week, as he's expected to announce a run for the White House. As Paul gets the wheels in motion for his campaign, how will the senator stand out from the pack? Here with their take are political strategists Chuck Rocha and Katrina Pearson. Welcome to you both.
Good to be here.
Great to be here.
The Libertarian running for office, Paul is expected to announce 2016 run. What are his chances, Chuck?
Well, I think his chances are decent. I think the problem, and you're starting to see it bubble up now, is his credibility with the conservative base who actually will pick the party's nominee. I think it's interesting that Sean Hannity's headed to Kentucky tomorrow for a one-on-one interview because, as we all know, Rand Paul is kind of a libertarian. He's very making sure that everybody has marijuana, that's illegal, or not illegal in that case, also on his foreign policy, and things that are pretty popular with the general voters. But when it comes to primaries, the conservative wing of the party really is the one who sets the tone.
Yeah, Katrina, you agree with that about his chances?
I do. I agree wholeheartedly, actually, simply because this is a Republican Party primary, not a Libertarian primary, and Republican voters take things very seriously, such as legalization of drugs and the border, which most big L Libertarians are open borders. And I think that's going to play, pretty interesting considering how Rand Paul is sort of walking that fine line at this point. Mm-hmm. But I also think it's exciting to have somebody like Rand Paul in the primary to sort of keep the topic of the Constitution and liberty at the forefront.
Okay, well, he is right now in the middle of a very crowded GOP pack. Let's take a look at the Real Clear Politics poll. You see Rand Paul is one of a few folks in third place, 8.7%, even after Ted Cruz announced his campaign last week. He got a little bump in there. So how can Paul stand out from his rivals, Chuck?
I've worked in Iowa a lot. I've run a lot of campaigns in Iowa. One thing that people aren't measuring with Rand Paul is his outreach to the youth. And it's hard to measure youth voters because they vote so sporadically. So Rand Paul could ramp up things in Iowa that nobody would really see if he could really reach out to that new youth conservative vote and talk about issues that are very popular with them. I think that's one way to kind of catapult his candidacy that nobody's really talking about.
And Katrina, what do you think? How can he stand out from all of those others?
Well, aside from the youth, he's been doing something that not a lot of the other candidates have been doing, is that he's reaching out to minorities, particularly in the black community. I've commended him myself on some of the sentencing reform initiatives that he's pushing that will help single moms and their children. And also, when we look at this cloaked attempt to reach out to the black community, it's really for legalizing drugs. So it's really going to be a matter of whether or not the GOP voters are willing to take that risk on a Paul candidate in the primary.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, because does he need to sort of please his father's libertarian base, or can he actually create a new coalition within the Republican Party? What do you think, Chuck?
He has to create a new coalition. His father was a good guy from Texas, but his coalition is not big enough to win the Republican nomination. You see him start backtracking on some of his foreign policy. You see him backtracking on a few of the other steadfast policies he's had before. That's all to try to create a bigger coalition for himself, because that's the only way he can really reach out to Christian conservatives and true conservatives in New Hampshire to make sure that he could win the nomination.
And Katrina?
Right. And that's the question, is he going to gain more or lose more by doing this exact thing? And I think he's actually going to lose more, considering how the Ron Paul coalition, those were the active members. Those are the ones out there pounding the pavement. It's these new people that he's going to bring in. We're just not quite sure if they're going to be willing to go to task like the original ones would. The Libertarian group is very much a purist group, unlike the Tea Party even. And they're really going to put him through the test. I mean, he also has backing Mitch McConnell that he did in Kentucky, which a lot of libertarians saw that as an act of treason.
All right, Chuck and Katrina, thanks so much. You want to check out foxnews.com for more on the 2016 race. I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching.